Welcome back. Our top story this half an hour, the DACA debate. Hundreds of people lining up overnight to watch the justices hear arguments on whether President Trump's effort to end the Obama-era immigration program is lawful. President Trump weighed in on this, tweeting this earlier. Many of the people in DACA, no longer very young, are far from angels. Some are very tough, hardened criminals. President Obama said he had no legal right to sign the order, but would anyway. If Supreme Court remedies with an overturn, a deal will be made with Dems for them to stay. Joining us right now is former acting director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, former ICE director and Fox News contributor Tom Homan. Tom, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Interesting what the president said in that tweet, saying, you know, if it is overturned, President Obama's executive order, then a deal will be made to get them to stay. So the president's in no rush to have them leave. I mean, you are talking about, what, 700,000 people?
Well, look, I think the president's in a win-win situation. The Supreme Court's either going to say one or two things. President Obama had the authority to create this program, which means another president certainly has the authority to end it, or they're going to say President Obama did not have the authority to create this program, which puts President Trump in a great position for negotiating some sort of immigration reform on the Hill. So I think either way, President Trump's sitting in a good spot.
So remind our audience of what took place. Congress was not acting on these dreamers who came to this country when they were very young. It wasn't their fault that their parents brought them illegally here. And President Obama said, well, I'm just going to sign this executive order getting them to stay.
Yeah, well, look, I tell you, based on my 30-some years of experience, I think President Obama was wrong doing what he did. I think it was illegal. I think deferred action is a form of prosecutorial discretion, and that needs to be decided on a case-by-case basis. You won't give someone prosecutorial discretion because there's some issues within their case. You can't just carve out hundreds of thousands of people and say, I'm going to give you all some sort of prosecutorial discretion, which we're going to call deferred action. I think it was illegal, and he said many times he couldn't do it. I think out of frustration he just did it. And I think the Supreme Court is going to find that it was improper.
Hey, Director Homan,
and you're right. If I could, on your monologue, you were right. I can tell you for a fact, a lot of these DACA students aren't students. They've never stepped on a school campus in their life. They want the internet and sign up for one class. And a lot of them are in their 30s, and a lot of them have criminal history. So this is just not the finest of the finest. There are a lot of fine young men and women in this, don't get me wrong. But there are also those that are not.
So we know that for sure, then. We know that for sure, that some of them do have criminal records.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Director Homan,
Yes,
Cabot Phillips here. Do you think there's any incentive for the president to delay this? Obviously, this is something he's been holding for a while, saying, I'll give a deal on DACA. And do you think he has an incentive to wait on that because he kind of loses leverage once he does give up and compromise on a deal there?
I think the president, look, he's already made great strides on the border. Numbers are down nearly 70% of their high in May. But he realizes also that Congress needs to act. They need to close the loopholes that have caused this surge since FY14. I think he realized he needs something, so I think this would be a great leverage tool. But will he be in a hurry? No, I think the timetable is on his side.
So we've got new data showing that nearly 70,000 migrant children have been held in the U.S. government custody over the past year. That's said to be enough infants, toddlers, kids, teens to overflow an NFL stadium. What's your take on the status of the migrants being held today? We're showing these pictures of when I went to the border. I went to El Paso, took the show there, and was met with so many people crossing the border illegally, including kids. These kids that I'm talking to were alone.
Well, look, that's something normal. I'm glad you're talking about, Maria, because something people don't talk about. They talk about the family separation where 2,500 families were separated because the parents were prosecuted, and we separate U.S. citizen families every day when a parent's prosecuted. But no one wants to talk about what, at the same time that 2,500 were separated, there was over 14,000 children in custody of the U.S. government that were separated by their parents. Their parents are here illegally, or a relative is here in the country illegally, and they hired a criminal organization or smuggled their child into the country. And they called what the government did inhumane, that we put them in, a licensed daycare facility while we prosecute the parent. But no one wants to talk about the tens of thousands of children that were smuggled into this country by a criminal organization. The numbers are starting to go down in the most recent months because of President Trump's action, but it's a serious issue. And as far as the family units, we've got a couple 100,000 family units that have entered this country illegally in the last couple of years. That's your next DACA population. If we don't address this pretty soon, because these children are going to claim, well, we were brought to the country in no fault of our own, too, in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So wherever Congress does on the DACA thing, they can't have a clean DACA fix. They need to address the hundreds of thousands that are your next DACA population. They need to end and rewarding illegal behavior, or we're never going to fix the border.
Yeah, well, most people don't talk about, John, how dangerous this is. Before these kids go into the migrant facilities, they've got to deal with drug lords. They've got to deal with a dangerous situation even before they get to the border to cross it.
Yeah, I think this is really a mess, and you have to realize that there's some sort of incentive for these kids to come over, or the parents will let the kids come over. And in large part, that's because of chronically weak, underperforming Latin American economies. If you look at the numbers, they're shocking.
Yeah.
Do you know what the growth rate is for Latin America of the past year? It's been about 1%, if 1%.
Yeah.
I'm including South America, Central America. There's something really wrong with the way these countries are being run.
So what you're saying is that this is just an economic story. I mean, Tom, this is, they're saying they're claiming asylum, but for the most part, they just want a better situation. They want a better economy so they can get jobs in America.
Yeah, if you look, 90%, 89.7% of all Central Americans who claim asylum at the border do not get relief from the U.S. government because they do not fall within the rules of asylum, which means you're escaping fear and persecution from your government because your race, religion, political beliefs. Escaping poverty doesn't qualify for asylum. And one thing no one wants to talk about, let me talk about this real quick, the Trump administration is trying to work that other issue. It's just not about security and securing the border. We got government officials down in Central America trying to create prosperity, working with big businesses, big banks to try to start businesses in Central America so the economy does improve.
And how many people does the U.S. let in a year legally? Because, a lot of the skeptics of President Trump like to commingle this, like legal versus illegal. The president wants legal immigration. He just wants to stop the illegal immigration.
This United States is the most giving country in the world. We welcome more refugees into the United States every year than every other country in the world combined. So, this is a very given nation, and I don't think that will change.
Yeah.
However, illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. 31% of women get raped making that journey. Children are dying, and criminal cartels are making millions of dollars a year. The same cartels that have murdered Border Patrol agents and murdered my special agents, and we're bankrolling with illegal immigration. Illegal immigration, we need to secure the border. We need to finish that wall. We need to pass comprehensive legislation, and Congress needs to get off their butts and help this president secure our border.
Yeah, well, they're not in session again, I guess, right? Well, they're back now because the public hearings will begin tomorrow, so Congress is back. Yeah. Tom, thank you. These are the stories you're not hearing elsewhere. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
Tom Homan joining us. Coming up.